I had a question regarding your recent lawsuit against the Department of Education over the California Department of Education's alleged violation of FERPA. I was wondering, within the lawsuit, what is the primary objective and how could that potential termination of almost $5 billion, impact the state due to the alleged non-compliance? And then if also you could talk a little bit about the U.S. Department of Education's, raising the concern about parental rights. Do we see California citizens raising that concern as well? How do we find that balance between, respecting parental rights, but also valuing student safety? And, how can your office, as well as the California Department of Education, demonstrate that they're meeting legal requirements and regulatory requirements to avoid, losing those funds?
Thank you for your question. We brought a lawsuit yesterday against the U.S. Department of Education regarding its allegations that the California Department of Education has facilitated policies and practices that violate, as you mentioned, FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Let me be clear. The California Department of Education fully complies with FERPA as it's written. And the attempt to withhold $5 billion in state education funding. Let me be clear, this is funding for children, for public schools, for parents. It's wrong. And there's a lot at stake. It's $5 billion in education funding for those who need it. And so we brought a lawsuit here in the Northern District of California, and we are already winning. We secured a temporary restraining order yesterday, blocking the attempt by the U.S. Department of Education to unlawfully withhold the nearly $5 billion. So the Trump administration has been fond of looking at a law that is clear on what it requires and then twisting it and changing it, rewriting it in their own minds into something that it's not, that is consistent with their own political agenda. And they've done that here. Again, California Department of Education is fully compliant with FERPA as written. The twisted, perverse, absurd, inappropriate rendering of FERPA by the U.S. Department of Education doesn't exist in the law. The Trump administration is in the executive branch. They are not lawmakers. Congress writes laws, and Congress hasn't amended FERPA. So we are, and the Trump administration has done this multiple times. They've tried to suggest that diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, so-called DEI programs that tackle harassment and tackle discrimination, are somehow discriminatory. To them, black is white, up is down. They twist and they turn and they, absurdly change laws into some figment of their imagination that doesn't exist. And they've done that here again. So our North Star here is the law. That's it. What does the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act require? We will follow every part of it and fully comply with it, and we have. But the Trump administration can't change the law with their own absurd rendering of it in their own mind, and then say you're not following. You might be following the actual law that FERPA stands for, but you're not following our absurd version of it, and so we're going to withhold $5 billion from you. Can't do it, and it's not going to happen. They've done this before. We've won before. If they want to do it again, we can go through this process. It's unfortunate that we're fighting the federal government who is acting so lawlessly to retain funds that Congress has already appropriated to us and that we deserve, and there's no basis for withholding. But if that's what we need to do, we'll do it. And on your question around, what an appropriate policy should be with respect to parents' rights and the privacy, the safety of children, that is a policy issue that policymakers can appropriately discuss. That's not what this is. This is about what the law is as currently constituted and set forth very clearly in black and white in FERPA. And we are completely complying with it. And there's no basis for the $5 billion, nearly $5 billion to be withheld. And don't take my word for it. Ask the court. who just issued a temporary restraining order within hours of our filing yesterday.
Thank you.